Aloha, Big Island. This is 93.5 Aloha Nation Live. This evening we are doing a show based on a follow-up to the HEMP Festival, HEMP Conference that recently happened at the Hilo, Hawaiian, and it was hosted by some folks from the Madland, fondly known by others as the mainland, but we refer to it very fondly as the Madland from here. But so we have a bunch of guests. We have a room full of folks actually this evening. It's much more fun this way actually. And I was thinking that often I end up telling everybody what everybody's name is, but we have our dear friend Roger who's doing our filming for future release on YouTube. So this can be seen there as well this evening. Gene, we are shoutcast.com.
Yeah, Aloha Truth Live.
Aloha Truth Live, that's one word, and shoutcast.com, all capital letters in their search bar, Aloha Truth Live, and you can listen to us live streaming, which might be a better signal for good different chunks of the island. So why don't we actually just take a second, everybody, Roger, if you can follow me with the camera. I lost my beautiful wife, Chris, that's usually sitting there. My beautiful wife, Chris, is sitting back there. She's our co-host of the show. That's funny. That's nice. She moved right at the last moment. It wasn't scheduled. Sarah Steiner-Jackman. Sarah has done our show a couple of times with us. She is a community organizer, I think is what we all like to do. Is that what we call ourselves now? It's a community organizers, activists, someone that isn't willing to lie down and go away, someone that speaks up and is trying right now through La Lima nonprofit that she has organized and keeps alive to have an organization where music and art are alive and well in our community out in Pahoa in particular, and hopefully we can extend that as that gets bigger and bigger. But did you want to say just hello to everybody? Say hello to all the people.
Hello, everyone.
And Jean, of course, everybody. Jean is our host for where we do our Aloha Nation Live broadcast, 93.5 FM. And Nimrod, are you going to just say hello to all of your fans?
Four.
Yeah, that's funny. He's a voice. That's right. The witness protection plan is still in force. And interesting enough, it's part of what we fight against. But our very special guest is Preston Whitfield. You are from Colorado. Is that where you're going to claim, or?
Yeah, Colorado and North Carolina.
Both the East Coast represented well, and it is Preston actually that was gracious enough. He's had a heck of a schedule while he's been here in Hawaii, because he is part of the group, the organization that sponsored, put on the entire hemp conference. They had an endless amount of incredible volumes of information of things that they have personally experiencing, things that they are working at and trying to push forward. He has, you yourself are one of these organizations making an entire product line, and I mean, if you'd like, you're certainly welcome to give us a little brief overview, and then we can talk about the rest of this. And so this is everyone, this is Preston.
Hi guys.
Yeah, just cue me in when I'm done talking because I can keep going. So yeah, so we brought to Hawaii the Hawaiian Hemp Conference, which is part of a family of events which was inspired from NOCO Hemp Expo in northern Colorado. NOCO, we just got through with our 4th year there. We grew by 30% last year. Into this year and next year, we're going to grow double that, so 100% growth is what we're anticipating for the following year. Amazing amount of interest going on, and so we got some key-ins from Hawaii that were saying it's time, kind of getting that vibe, it's time. So Morris Spiegel and Liz, the two that helped us put this together, actually connected with Hawaii with Doug Fine, and really got the ball rolling for us. We had some on the boots ground here in Hawaii that was helping us put everything together, and we did it at the Hawaiian Hilo Hotel. Put off a pretty nice event, I would say, for year one.
How well was it attended, do you think?
I thought it was, for being on an island, it was very well attended. Absolutely, because, I mean, I look at year one from where we were for the first annual NOCO, and if that's any indicator, hang on.
Yeah, wonderful.
Absolutely. It's going to be, And so we got some other surprises for next year that I think are going to help draw a little bit bigger of a crowd. We'll keep under the hat at the moment, but
and there's so much to this. So what it is specifically, and I know Gene is particularly interested in finding out is so that obviously for everyone that's listening, the one thing that we were talking about prior to you getting here this evening, and we've talked about for a couple of days since thinking about doing this as a show, is clarifying, and we try to do that with each show. If whatever the topic of the show is, we try to first define, what exactly that is. And so my question was, and it continues to be that difference in people's mind of hemp and cannabis.
absolutely.
So it seems like that if and certainly if anybody else wants to define that, but yeah, I mean it's because you make that distinction.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And because it's a hemp product.
Absolutely. So yeah, and one of the main sponsor for the event this year is one of my other businesses, which is Functional Remedies and CBDRX, and we create a family of cannabinoid-rich products. And we're vertically integrated, meaning we own the farm. We've created the genetics to create a high cannabinoid content within the hemp plant while keeping the THC below 0.3, which is your key indicator between hemp and marijuana. And
So are they the same plant?
absolutely,
Yeah,
100%. Just think of it as it is one plant. The only distinction of hemp and marijuana is the level of THC upon harvest, as based on when your Department of Agriculture, so you put in a harvest report when it's getting time for harvest, they'll come out, they'll check the crop, they'll do a sample, it comes in under 0.3, you're certified, and it goes. At the point of harvest, at that point, whatever you do after that, it's industrial hemp.
Interesting.
Period.
And it's an interesting thing when you say that, because we are, as well, CG, our dear friend that's with us this evening also back there, and then she was, we talked about that a little bit, because when we were talking about the distinction, I immediately said, why does everybody say industrial hemp? But so it's an interesting thing. But one thing I do want to point out, and it's an interesting thing that Gene and I were talking about, is that our discussion this evening is going to be about hemp as it's medicinal, and how everything is, how it's viewed, and how it's proven, and all of the ways that it's questioned. And yet, our reason for 93.5, our core purpose of Aloha Nation Live, is to say specifically to say to the Madland, first of all, that we are illegally occupied.
Right.
So right away we have a little bit of a conflict in having a discussion about things that are going to be centered around laws.
Absolutely.
Of a illegally occupying force where we are, where we're broadcasting from. So so it's an interesting thing that we're kind of that's our backdrop. Mm-hmm. Our backdrop is that we already don't agree that anybody has any business telling us what we can grow.
Absolutely.
And so it's an interesting the problem. And so with that said, the reason I bring it up is that I know that a lot of we have to talk about we have to talk about what this illegally occupying group of people say we can do, and then we're going to, Gene wants to ask about how we can do this, how we can grow here hemp, and really as far as we're concerned, that question is more about the actual physical logistics of what would make it the healthiest plant, where we'd get the biggest, not whether or not the Department of Agriculture is going to bless us with their, whether they can come out and say, oh, well, this is okay.
Right.
So with that backdrop, I think it's an interesting, I just want to make sure that, because it's part of what I think is making people interested in listening to us, is that our first and foremost our present premise is that we're not asking the FCC permission to do this. We're not asking the federal government that illegally occupies this particular part of the world permission, about whether we can do this.
You're doing what your heart desires.
Well, then what natural law.
Well, I think it's important. The question of lawfulness ties into the question or the issue of claims. And everyone is welcome to have a claim. So if FCC has a claim, we welcome that. But in our unalienable right, we have to require that all claims are supported with facts and evidence, so that we have a very level playing field. You know, so if the mayor or if we or anybody has a claim, that's good. You have that right. But we have to create a community consciousness and a society that respects claims, but also requires they are supported in facts and evidence and lawfulness. And that's it. You know, agendas are
Right. So
are all over the place. Agendas are all over the place.
So our point is more is it's always about that we're not asking permission. You know, that we're done asking permission. It's really you know what will help us to grow the best crop.
Right.
You know, and then I guess if we have to dance their dance until we can finally just stop supporting them enough and getting enough people to understand that that's the only way we'll ever make change is to stop supporting them, then we will have to discuss.
But it's not an overnight like cold turkey kind of
light
event.
Switch.
Yeah, it's not a light switch. That's why in Hawaii, over all these 124 years, they've been people that have been educating themselves and each other about Hawaii's true political status, and now the additional information that actually entraps Americans all over the continent too. And we could talk about possibly a little later on, but America by its own definition, United States Code Article 28, Section 3002, it is by its own definition, United States is a federal corporation. So I think it is incumbent for all people with unalienable rights to require full disclosure. Wait a minute. You're telling me you're a federal corporation? It's actually in United States Code? Yes. So don't you think agents of that corporation need to come forward and talk to the people and explain to them why an entity, not unlike Walmart, is now telling you, you can't do this, you're going to pay this tax.
You can't grow this.
You can't grow this, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So the transition is a little bit sticky.
It's like almost like having to go to Walmart prison if you get in trouble.
Actually, yeah, and
that's like, wait a minute.
It's a foreign controlled entity. That's a claim I have, but there's a lot of public record evidence that shows that America did lose the War of 1812. And it did become a federal corporation in 1871 when they created the District of Columbia. And when that happened, the original 13th Amendment, which prohibited people in America from having dual citizenship or titles of nobility like Esquire.
Right.
So we talked a little bit about this. What does BAR stand for? And BAR is a foreign title. It is British Accreditation Regency. So anyone listening, you need to do your due diligence and look it up. It is not, I don't bring it up to beat up on lawyers, but the truth and the facts, you know, bear witness to itself. And so how do we take this inconvenient truth, not to copy what Al Gore, how he used it, but it is perhaps an inconvenient truth. However, it is essential for our returning peacefully to lawfulness. Having a society that, in America's case, returning to its constitutional republic roots. Mm-hmm. Our natural law roots in America is the same law, the same natural, we hold these truths to be self-evident, roots of Hawaiian Kingdom. My Natural Law 101 class is almost done in 5 minutes here, basically because there is the fundamental basis of America 1776 and Hawaiian Kingdom 1839 are all God's natural law. There's unity in the law. And people are thinking in terms of political venue. And that's why there's a lot of, fear and division. Once we realize by historical facts and evidence that there's unity in the law, there's unity in the people.
Mm-hmm.
And so we can move forward with full aloha and
bring
transparency.
that and bring it full circle
Yeah.
back to the people. It's
Yeah.
that's and the reason that to have all of this said at this show that was really about the hemp is because it's such a curious relationship with the law that hemp has had for decades. You know, I mean, there's what are no less than conspiracy, theories.
You talking about DuPont?
Well, I mean everything, right? I mean, and that's what I did. That's a great example.
He would know about DuPont.
Right, and well, of course, right. But and even still, others that have, like for example, in the news, right, immediately talk about current changes of the way that things are. Is you have a crazy man that has the authority to go to the government and say that he wants to prosecute medical marijuana people. And so I mean, so they're new, you're new, and I have said it for a long time that when the flavors, when the fools in the Madlands, when that changes, when that attitude and the people, the players change, then all of the flavors and all of their little pet stuff changes, and now the gentleman Sessions is going after the medical marijuana market, and guess what everybody did? They all signed up for it. They told you where they lived. They told you they smoked pot, and they said, this is where I am. Mm-hmm. And now the winds of Washington have changed. And so, with all of that, that's all of the legal stuff. So where we stand, we're already saying, we really don't give a shit what the federal government is saying, because they're in the wrong place anyway. But to bring the conversation back to really what we do have to talk about, because the reality of it is we do have to work within what the system is. So
No.
Can I bring up a point with what you just
Go
said?
ahead.
The new revision of the omnibus spending bill that just came out in the previous year had said that the DEA has no jurisdiction over spending any money on the enforcement of industrial hemp, finished products, plants, seeds, or otherwise. Okay?
Okay.
So we were on point at the end of March that it was going to get re-signed, and because of sessions and all that was going on. Well, I encourage everyone to read it now, because now not only is that related to industrial hemp, but it's also medical marijuana.
Mm. So
Sessions and the DEA has no jurisdiction. They are, by the omnibus spending bill, not to expend any money. That means opening their mouth, because you're getting paid at the time you open your mouth,
good point.
to mess with medical marijuana or industrial hemp at this point in the United States.
And that's a passed
It's
piece
not,
of
and it's a
legislation.
year-to-year voted thing. So for the next year, right now, Sessions' hands tied on medical marijuana
Thank
from
you.
enforcing
That's terrific. That's
I thought they
true.
were just going after the states that don't have marijuana.
Yeah, so
Medical.
recreational is open market for them now.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and it is. But because it's so, your time is so precious for us. If you could tell us about the hemp, what has happened, because I know when we spoke briefly, you now have an opportunity to grow hemp in a state where you were telling me it hasn't been allowed for.
Absolutely. So my background is I'm originally from North Carolina, born and raised on a tobacco farm. We were having a thriving family business up until about maybe 10 or 11 years old, at the point at which the federal government said, here, we're going to pay you a small subsidy not to grow tobacco anymore, and you cannot actually do that. So what our family farm was founded on, tobacco, that had always been several generations deep, our business and what we knew how to do, we no longer could do, and as a matter of fact, everybody had to then go scratch their heads and try to go get jobs, right? So you sent our entire southeastern region into this crazy shop that really has still not let
Because
up.
of course it wasn't just your place.
Oh,
it was-
absolutely
it was
not.
every farm around.
And so, I mean, that hurt me so much as a kid that I said, if I ever have an opportunity to change this, I undoubtedly will.
Which is a difficult thing to argue for tobacco.
Absolutely.
Because it's a tough
Well,
topic,
absolutely, I agree completely. But I mean, at the time when it's supporting your family
Absolutely,
and all your
sure,
community,
sure.
yeah, you're definitely behind it. And so there's an evolution now. So
I made it a point of myself to educate myself as much as I could on industrial hemp and cannabis. My father was graced me with the knowledge of cannabis from a very young guy, so I was able to have the understanding that there's nothing wrong. I mean, this is actually a good plant, and there's good reason behind it. And then, so through the years, as I kept doing that, I had an opportunity about 3 years ago to start working with North Carolina State on the Department of Agriculture and the university. Started educating them. And now here's a critical point that I want to mention that I think really we as a world need to really think about. In the energy of how previous legalization attempts have happened in our state, the people came up to them with a fight. We deserve this plant. This is our plant. It's our right. It's our time. We need this. So after having witnessed that fight, I've decided, and knowing how energy really works, I took a different approach. So I went in and I basically brought myself and got myself on their side of the table, and I said, I completely understand why you think and feel the way you do. I do too. You know, it was our parents, our grandparents, our schools, our police, our society that taught us that this plant was wrong. I get it, you know. I mean, we all have been taught the same thing.
Sure.
But let's look at the science that's sitting here on the table, you know.
Reefer madness.
It was just misinformation that got us to this point, but there's actual real science sitting here on the table. Let's divest in that. And with those moments where you gave them the permission to let go of those, it's wrong, you know, just let go of that. Just understand that, oh, there's truth right here on the table. It's black and white, it's science. Let's cross this boundary together. And in those moments, it made fluid motion. So what I want everybody to consider is let go of the fight for a minute. Find the purpose in what it is that you're wanting to do, and find where the flow in that purpose is, and just keep pushing. You know, don't let go of that. Let go of the fight. There's people out there who's passionate and they can do the fight, but if you're here to move this plant forward, yeah, it takes you know, removing the resistance. So, okay.
It's setting its roots. It's amazing that you now worked with the state where you're talking about North Carolina.
North Carolina State University, Department
So you
of
worked
Agriculture. With the Department of Agriculture is who. So Bob Crumley was one of the ones who originally scripted the bill with some of his teamwork, and I jumped in on board right in the very beginning of that. And it was with those conversations that I just mentioned there that really got everybody, you know, to again let down their guard. You know, understand that, you know, wow, we were all really wrong. Seriously, we were wrong. And that's actually a freedom for them. You know, really, in everybody's mind, it's a freedom to let go of this lie. You know, because I think in everybody's mind, in some regard, they understand it really is a lie.
Yeah, but I do think, and again, you know, I can't help but continuously think in my head the difference between hemp and pot. You know, I mean, they're, you know, they become one and the same. You know, so and then as we mentioned, and you were going to hopefully elaborate some on is those conspiracies, you know, of this crop being intentionally kept out of technology of being done in order for other products.
Wow.
To take over.
How long do you guys have? Are you ready for this? This is going to be right.
Yes, you may.
So, consider this for a moment. We all have an endocannabinoid system in our body. If nobody knows what the endocannabinoid system is, Google it. ENDO cannabinoid. CANNADOID. Endocannabinoid system. Just like everybody that's listening right now understands, you have a cardiovascular system, a skeletal system. You also have an endocannabinoid system. Sole purpose of this system is to create homeostasis or wellness within our bodies. All mammals on the planet have this system. Because of its illegality in the 1930s, we have become a cannabis deficient planet, and endocannabinoid systems are not operating at their full maximum potential. So that leads us to where our bodies generally are in terms of sickness or ailment or unwellness or in dis-ease.
Just not balanced.
So, and I'm not saying that everybody gets high, that's not what I'm saying here, but our bodies are meant to bring this plant in and to create wellness within our bodies. So that being said, if you have a society that is weakened because their endocannabinoid system is not operating at its maximum potential, there seems to be potential here to make some money on creating symptomatic relief of these potential ailments.
Sure.
Let's call that pharmaceuticals.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'd venture to ask anyone listening to tell me, is there a pharmaceutical drug that cures anything? Or is it temporary symptomatic relief of what ails you? Because if you have temporary symptomatic relief, then you have an ongoing customer, because guess what? It's going to come back. And it's going to happen again and again.
Sure. Yeah, it's self-perpetuating.
However, okay, now let's take this a little step further. Now we as a society also, I'm a licensed general contractor in the state of Colorado. And I know for a fact that we have, by code, got ourselves living in a toxic box that sits there and exchanges toxic gases. And this toxicity in most of our homes today is included in the drywall, the paints, the varnishes, the carpets, all of your upholsteries, everything you're doing. And that's all in safety to help prevent you from burning to that. While it's sitting there putting off chemicals that your body is, so that's our mindset. So it's with that intention we plant it with love, care for it with love. Right when it gets to harvest time, we harvest, dry, and cure it in our own facilities with that same passion and love.
And this is specifically hemp.
This is specifically, and this is cannabinoid-rich hemp. So this is not your level industrial hemp where you're planting real close like bamboo and it's growing 12 foot tall and you're getting seeds, fiber, and hurd. This is in the Jamaican culture, this is a Gagne plant. I mean, it is marijuana for all intents and purposes, except THC is below 0.3. We have some of the most delicious terpenes in these things. I mean, the flavors that are in there are amazing. So what we've done, I mean, this is basically a medical recreational strain that we've dialed down the THC to below 0.3. So we're growing all females, 5 foot on centers, about 1,700 plants per acre. And these, I mean, the whole field is a full canopy of flowers when it's done at the end of the year. And then when we harvest, dry, and cure it, we then process it into our final products. Now, and I'll take a few minutes just to go into where the cannabis market is today in the hemp industry. So a lot of your finished products in the hemp industry today are generally go through some level of extraction and then made into final products. So in your extraction, what that is you basically put your flower into a vessel of some sort. You put some kind of solvent through it. It could be ethanol, it could be CO2, butane, propane, all of those things. And then what that does, it extracts out a portion of the plant, which is some of the medicine that's left over, usually high in your cannabinoid counts. A lot of the terpenes at that point are probably gone. You get some of them. A lot of the waxes and most of the other plant phytonutrients are left in the plant material. You take that and then they mix it into other products, which could be this or like our tincture. However, if anybody's watched the CNN Sanjay Gupta show, one of the things that he really promoted was the entourage effect. And the entourage effect is getting as much of the plant beneficial as you can into your system, because that's how nature intended it, so that you are then fulfilling the full potential of the plant.
Oh, yeah.
So instead of extraction, what we at Functional Remedies and CBDRX have come up with and done is we use an ancient tradition of infusion. Okay, so we take coconut oil and we infuse our plant material into the coconut oil with specific time, pressure, and a couple other fun things. But basically, it is just coconut oil and cannabis, our hemp. That's it. That creates the baseline for all of our products. With that, you're getting all of the plant phytonutrients because it's infusing all that goodness into it. You're not extracting anything out. And then so with that, when you take it, it really does everything that the plant would do as if you were eating it whole. So now you guys may have heard, so we have a full plant, and then you have the extraction, and then you may have even heard of isolate at this point. Isolate is where they've actually taken this process of extraction and they've actually just isolated the CBD only. So this product looks like sugar, and it is 100% or 99% CBD. Okay? We're going to table this conversation just for a minute because it's important. I'm going to take it and we're going to go back to some of the aspirin. Aspirin is an isolate of willow bark. Okay? You can go to the store and you can buy aspirin, or you can go to the store and you can buy willow bark extract. Okay? Same thing. Except for they've isolated the compound that gets rid of your headache in the aspirin. When you take the aspirin, because you don't have the full plant beneficials, it actually processes through your liver. Same thing with the isolate in any of your hemp or extracts, other things like that. Now let's talk about, now we'll bring the cannabis back on the table with the isolate. There is a bell curve response in any of these products that you take, meaning the onset from a certain milligram, how long it's going to last, and then how long does it take to taper off, okay? We've done some tests and we have realized that with an isolate, you have a very sharp bell curve response. At about 200 milligrams, it starts to taper off and the effectiveness goes away, okay? And the reason is because it doesn't have the full plant behind it to actually support and take on the full effect within the body. Our product has a bell curve that goes up slower than the isolate, but it maintains and it does not taper off for, I mean, so you can continue getting an effect of 500, 600, 700 milligrams even, and it will take a hell of a lot longer to wear off, hours instead of
Then that dramatic change.
dramatic. Now, I want to bring that up and say there's a point to have isolate in the market. Okay. Now, here's one of the things you guys are going to see. The DEA is going to take the isolate. They're going to. It's happening right now. GW Pharmaceuticals is putting a patent out on CBD product. CBD isolate will no longer be sold within hemp companies like you see it today. It's going to go into a pharmaceutical grade drug. It's going to happen. We're seeing it already. Get ready. But they can't touch full plant. But I wanted to get back to the point of why isolate sometimes is good. I know of a couple of different products out on the market right now that it is an isolate-based product. They put it into lotions. If there is a child or somebody in spasms, they can rub it on their back or they can put this under their tongue, and then within 1 minute, seizure's gone. It happens that fast. Yeah. That's medicine right there, brother. That helps, and there is a point to have that. But when you're looking for the full effect, and you're looking for what nature intended, going back to this ancient, the lipid infusion technologies is what we have found has given us the best effectiveness in our products, and we hear it time and time again. I mean, one of the most amazing things is answering the phone at the company and just hearing.
Well, just this evening, just this evening, the endorsement that
Ryan gave us.
a friend of Gene's.
He said lifetime chronic pain.
Yeah, they read Gene read an email for that came in from a product with some of your samples.
Yep.
A tiny little sample package, and the gentleman with chronic pain felt the difference. He felt it extraordinary. So the fine line is, I think, medicinally is where is one whole aspect of the hemp product.
That's just one sector. The
Right.
cannabinoid hemp is one sector.
And then there's
Then you have your seed production, which is obviously in the flower. Then you have the fiber, which is what makes all my clothes, which is the outside of the plant. Then on the inside woody core, that is the hurd or the shiv. We're doing a lot of building materials with that.
Is your company doing
Tiny
that
Hemp
also?
Houses, Mr. John Patterson is one of the companies that I work with and affiliated with, yes.
It's called Tiny Hemp.
Tiny Hemp Houses, yep. And Google him, Mr.
So,
John.
I mean, ecologically as well, I mean, then the plant is, and I guess we should talk a little bit about that, because the plant is also fairly naturally better at protecting itself in the environment as a large crop.
Naturally pest resistant.
Yeah.
And
So you're not you're not spraying it.
we don't do any of that.
Interesting. And then there was someone, who was it? I don't know. That someone had mentioned that there was a concern about cross pollination. But interesting enough, I thought it was an interesting way that they thought of it, because they were a little bit more concerned, who knows why, but they were a little bit more concerned with the actual content of THC being higher, and they were a little concerned that if they had these hemp plants growing next to them that were designed to have very low amounts of THC, that if they cross-pollinated with their plants, that they would affect that THC level, which I think, of course, would probably be the case.
Well, the effect that happens upon the flower getting pollinated is the plant automatically turns its energy from creating more cannabinoids, which the cannabinoids are basically the sticky membranes or the trichomes on the outside of the flower, And all that is the female trying to create more stickiness to attract more pollen as much as possible. When that happens and the pollen actually hits the flower, the energy goes into making seed at that point. So cannabinoid production actually slows down until it stops.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So at that point, there's some conversations and some research and development to be done on that to see but I can tell you with most certainty that wouldn't be an issue.
No, that's fine.
Now the seeds that you would produce from that, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Now that
Yeah,
would be
yeah.
the issue right there.
Yeah, they're right, because they would, in a test,
Yeah.
they would be over your threshold, right?
If it, well, I mean,
Perhaps.
yeah, because I mean, you plant. I mean, if you look at the way you get into genetics, you're doing a sets of 100, and out of that 100, you're going to probably have 90 of them that'll be pop hot, but you might have 1 or 2 of them in there that
Right,
that you can really utilize as a hemp plant.
Isn't that
So-
funny? And I know that. I mean, we have folks here with us this evening that use the medicinal side of your product, or not necessarily only your product, but they might have questions. So if anybody does, have any specific questions about any application of this, then that would be just wonderful. But I think I would love to talk a little bit though about, Gene, what you were saying specifically about growing it, because do we know? I don't, unfortunately. I'm sorry, I didn't have time to look into it. But do we know, or did you guys perhaps looked into it? What are the laws on the books about hemp as a product, as a farm agricultural product in Hawaii? Is it something that can be grown? Do you know?
To my knowledge, it cannot be grown. To my knowledge, there has been for over 20 years an experimental study that Cynthia Thielen has forwarded. It's been a long time, and it looks like gatekeeping to me.
It's just a way of forever holding it off.
Pretty much.
Decision.
But I want your.
Do you know, Sarah? Do you know what the actual laws are on? Did you guys look into what the actual laws are in Hawaii for?
It was my understanding that all we're waiting on right now is for you to have rule development done. And once the rule development's done, and we just went through this in North Carolina, at that point, permits will be issued. Some states, they've been very limited permits and directly related to the Department of Agricultural Research, such as Virginia, somewhat Kentucky, but Kentucky's a little bit looser. One of the things we developed in North Carolina is to be able to have the ability to go to commerce. That is one of the research platforms on there. So with my company, Source Hemp, which is another one of my companies, they, by the way, just planted the first hemp plant in North Carolina on my farm since the 1930s, legal.
And that's what I had mentioned that to these guys. So since 1930, is that when the prohibition of hemp?
Yeah. 1937 was when everything was made illegal.
Because I guess for some historical perspective, the hemp was legally allowed.
It was. Oh, I mean, George Washington was a hemp farmer.
Yeah.
He has been quoted of being over in Europe with Queen Elizabeth and says, "Sorry, dear, I'm having to cut my trip short. It's time for the hemp harvest. I'm going home.
Gotta go.
Gotta go."
Interesting.
And that's on record. I mean, so.
So then they got to where? Where was it?
So-
Your industry, I guess, in that we touched a little bit on that with the conspiracy
Henry?
stuff, and you had said Dow Chemical and.
Yep, exactly. So we're going to get into petroleums and then pharmaceuticals, I think. But let's look at the petroleum industry first, because Henry Ford had made a car that was built out of a hemp battery, complete body, and was run on hemp fuel. Okay. It was after he did that it was interestingly, the patent for that car was bought and never seen again.
Yeah, they
Follow-
said within a year.
follow the
they
money.
put the
Who bought
laws
that?
down.
Okay.
Did they say?
They said within the year they stopped. They put the law into play.
Yeah. So that
Yeah,
happened, but
really.
as far as I know, the patent for that car was bought, and we never have seen it again.
So
But-
they
But
being.
wait, I've got more.
Yay, bring it.
So I was reading because I read about the Ford thing that I figured everybody would know, but they're currently growing hemp in other countries, and Mercedes, Audi, and
BMW.
BMW are actually creating pieces of cars out of hemp.
You
Mixing
can,
with other things. I forget what they call it, like compressing.
it's composite. It's composite doors. So you can actually go to your BMW dealer, anybody, and go look at the I-8 or the I-3.
That's all
or
I
the
can
I-8.
do is go look at it.
Right. But go look at it, and you will see plant composite doors
Yeah.
that's flax or hemp in those doors. Part of those are manufactured, actually, believe it or not, in Kentucky. Buddy of mine, Trey Riddle of Sunstrand, that's one of his customers.
So then Kentucky, we could say, is one state that has redone their state laws of hemp production. Is the product grown in Kentucky
There
as
is
well?
product grown in
So,
Kentucky.
and so that, I mean, out of 50, then do we have a number of states where now hemp production, that law no longer is applicable?
Your main producers of hemp at this point are refined to about 5 states,
Southeast.
there's 16 that are on the books, I think, at this point that are legal, and that's going to, keep ticking. That's not going to be an issue for people once they understand the agricultural potential.
Well, I don't think though. I mean, don't you think? Perhaps not. I think for at least a decade, I have known all about the ecological and 25,000 different uses of hemp. So the point being is that I don't think that this is an aha moment in anybody's world, or at least not at my age. It's been something that has been known for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's been known for 30 years that something industrial, so the proverbial they, changed the laws to make hemp, not able to be, because there were people that had money, that had an interest, and they changed it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not really an aha moment with hemp.
No.
We have known.
Yep. I can say that there is a critical momentum happening right now within the industry, having been in it for
A long time. We've been fighting this battle.
Right now, more than any time ever, the energy's peaking. You can feel it. Everybody, so there's movement going. Right now is a great time for it. So,
Which is interesting, because politically, the political climate is not in your favor.
Well, here's another thing I want to mention.
Other than what you mentioned,
the people changed the laws. Yes, they did. And to go back into it, Harry Anslinger gave just under a couple minutes of testimony, in which one of the things that he testified, this in 1937, is that marijuana made blacks think they were as good as whites.
Yeah.
Quote unquote.
Extraordinary.
Absolutely appalling.
Yeah, well, just
Absolutely
the level of ignorance
appalling.
is just,
It was based on sheer misinformation and ignorance. And let's talk about this, guys. And here's what I want to empower the people with this information right now.
How dare they?
We the people run this country. Every single one of the officers, government officials, they have signed a contract to work for we the people. You are the people. They are not making laws. It is our right and our responsibility as citizens of the United States to get up there and make the laws that work for us. And that's exactly what I did in North Carolina. And we have the power to do that within each and every one of us. Not to sit back and sit here and bitch about.
You can do that. We're streaming.
Not to sit here and bitch about it and complain about it, but to stand up and go, okay, this is what I need from you, Governor. This is what I need from you, Senator. This is what I'm, as a citizen, you have signed a contract to work with me. I'm your constituent. This is the law that I need from you.
And that's just a,
Don't even, and it's not a question.
It's our natural lawfulness that we're talking about, and that plays into it, because
I think it's a great opportunity.
It is.
Especially in Hawaii, especially on this island, because of the natural resources and of the land itself, of the aina, and the mindset and the heart set culture of Big Island. We can work it from both sides, because there is no lawful proof that we have to go to the government and create new laws to protect us, to allow us to, okay? There is no proof that that needs to be done. However, best practices is very relevant. The science behind it is very relevant. The healing opportunities that exist for people, the land, the economy, all of these things very relevant. But I think we could work it from several different sides. We definitely do not want to, or at least some of us, do not want to surrender our unalienable right to full disclosure and to require that claims are supported with facts and evidence. Okay, that's a given that we must take responsibility for. However, people like yourself that have, you know, the historical and the scientific and the economic, you know, background and knowledge, so that everybody looks good, everybody wins. You know, if it's beneficial to life, everybody wins. I just would support you in reminding all concerned what is the law, what is the truth, and then how do we best, without kicking anybody off the island, you know, without persecuting people, in the spirit of aloha, forgiveness, ho'oponopono, and healing. How do we do all that, you know, together, utilizing the knowledge and the energies, and to create really powerful synergy on this island.
And to tap into the energy of
Tap
hemp,
in.
into the what hemp offers.
It's a great start
as a product.
for being here. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a wonderful alternative product, alternative industry for an island that needs that. We have to have something that can once again help this island have a product that in it. I'm assuming that this is a good growing.
What do you think of the potential of Hawaii Island?
So what I've understood by your photo period is that you are sitting at a point of almost 12-12 consistently. Is that correct? Does anybody in the room
You mean
know?
12, what?
Like light to dark, light to dark.
No.
Yes. Yeah, that's like.
I mean,
So what triggers cannabis to flower is more than 12 hours of darkness in a given 24-hour period.
The
Okay?
shock period too, if you're, but also there's many medicinal benefits that it has too. I've been hearing you. My name is Travis Cole, by the way.
Travis Preston.
DJ Thumper, Preston. We were really looking forward to meeting you tonight. And there's so many positive benefits that you had to offer, not just us here on the island, but the rest of the world, with things that we need to be awakened up as. That's our whole purpose here. That's why we had this all started up, and really been looking forward to meeting you.
I appreciate it.
I'm a United States naval veteran.
Me too.
And yeah. It's such a pleasure to meet you, and so it's been drawing me towards to you. And there's so many different benefits, and
So there was 12 the 12-hour was what you're saying.
actually
the
a
12
way
what's
to grow,
12? We've
by
actually
just
been doing it
your-
ourselves too, because we believe in it.
Yeah, so there's a
And,
way to grow it by just shocking the plant at about midnight. You go out and you shine a light on it for 1 minute, and that'll actually start it growing again.
You can do that.
There's
Set it up
local
on a
growers
system
that do
to
it like
keep the
that
plant
here.
active, because
Yeah.
it's a living organism.
So that works
So-
for you.
Yeah, and I guess where I was going is like, yeah, once you have more than that, it starts the plant flowering. So if that happens, like if you just put the plant outdoors and it just starts flowering, what that would lead me to say is there needs to be either a combination of indoor vegetation time or greenhouse vegetation time with auxiliary lighting to get it up to a size that you would want it to start flowering. Now, the amount of flowers on any given plant are directly proportional to the amount of roots that you have on that plant. So having really good root size before it goes into flower is critical. Not necessarily critical, but I mean it really helps. And then you'll see in hydroponic systems or aeroponics, any of that, the root masses when they go into flower are always pretty substantial. So.
And again, we're talking for this application. We're talking about hemp, and
Absolutely.
you're gearing it toward the medicinal.
So even when you get into cannabinoid hemp farming, you have, even in Colorado, I mean, we had 670,000 square foot of indoor hemp farming in Colorado last year.
Nice.
Let's repeat that. Over 500,000 square feet of indoor hemp farming. What does that mean?
Well, what it means, I'm sorry,
You
but
have,
what it
cheap
means
electricity.
is that people with big money are playing and the small people are not getting. We can maybe buy this and get a benefit of it,
So in
you know, but they're not, the government, such as it is now, is rewarding
Well, what is that?
tobacco,
Proportionally?
you know, the farmers
So
or.
let's find out those.
They're rewarding people with big money to play.
But before we say that though,
I appreciate what you've done, how you've
What I'm
developed this is very.
Right.
I'm blown away. It's
What I
pretty-
want to ask Preston, maybe you can clarify for you, is the proportion of small farmers versus large corporate farmers in Colorado. Do you have any idea what that is?
Absolutely. The majority of them are small farmers. The majority of the hemp farmers in that 670,000 are small farmers like yourself.
So you guys buy like
that's
some co-op.
Colorado.
No, not a co-op. You can get it. You can go out and get a permit and say, I have a 600 square foot warehouse out here. I want to grow my hemp, or a greenhouse, or this 600 square feet, or a half acre
So
of hemp, and I want to grow it. You put down your $200 and then your $20 for the minimum 1 acre. For $220, you have a permit. You go out, you put your plants in the ground. You're growing it.
So
you're going around and you're making this yourself, and you're selling it on the internet or to the store down the street or to your friends.
No, I like that.
Everybody in Colorado. This is not big money, guys. Now, our company.
For you to understand Sarah's perspective is that here, if you knew or not, in Hawaii, the way that it's being introduced, and I'm sure it's been done this way in other places, is that they immediately, they being those that have that power over us illegally, they have decided that you needed $1 million to play this game. So what Sarah's concern is that, and it's again back to what we are here for, with we're free, is that here. They are squeezing the little guy out.
I pray that you guys will tear down the paradigm of thinking that they have any control over you.
Yeah, well, that's why we're here.
Please tear down that paradigm.
Absolutely.
They work for you.
Absolutely.
I mean that. They work for you.
Well,
they work for you. They work for all of us in this room.
Gene and I
you are
say
their
that.
boss.
Yeah, we do.
Don't go to Walmart prison, guys.
Yeah, that's
You,
a great
they are
point.
your boss.
Boom.
It's a great point.
No.
It's what we talk
Why would
about.
you have to be zoned agricultural?
Not necessarily in Colorado. No, it doesn't have to be. I mean, it can be industrial. Now, it cannot be residential for an agricultural.
Hawaii has an electrical problem, though. You guys got to realize that.
That's
You got 16 hours of light to veg weed for a couple months. You're augmenting your light with incredible lights. You're
Inside it's
greenhouse with augmented light to get the veg cycle. You're right. So either way, you're still got about 6 hours of
right.
And then and I think
the
just
scale you would need to make it.
That ties into the renewable energy systems, specifically ocean thermal energy conversion that is already built. But it was built by the Navy, and so the Navy gatekeeps, it protects the use of that ocean thermal energy conversion to only what they want to do with it. And so it is projected that OTEC will not be available for the people for another 20 years.
Can Hawaii do ballot initiatives?
Only this Hawaii
It's a
County.
referendum, I think, isn't it?
Hawaii County can do.
I have a question.
Yeah, we can do.
If you could do ballot initiatives?
No.
Well, that's a whole other thing that we
Are
need
you
to-
isolating your various strains up for the particular terpenes they're going? Does each strain have a particular terpene?
set of terpenes? Absolutely.
A set of them.
Yes.
And is
And
there
that set makes up what that particular genetic smells like.
and are you measuring the terpene that's dominant and the particular physiological effect that's having on the people? Are you
Absolutely.
noticing strain-specific remedy to various ailments?
So there is huge terpene science going on behind that, and each terpene having a different effect. I mean, so we're seeing distinct. That's more in your medical side of things, because terpenes aren't really quantified in a capsule when you take it, because you're not tasting anything. Same thing with our tincture. You get a little bit of the flavor in it, but mostly it's a coconut oil base, so you're getting a lot of that.
So whether it's
when you're
mycelium dominant or pinene dominant, you don't know necessarily. You don't care.
We do. No. So when we get ours finished, and everybody out there, we use a third party. Most companies use a third party testing laboratory that will test for your cannabinoid profile. So what cannabinoids are in there and at what percentage. They will also test for pesticides, heavy metals, any kind of residual solvents or any of that. And then they test your terpene levels, your terpene counts, and what all is in there. And I mean, so they're pretty.
And your
deep.
THC count.
Oh, THC. Oh, that's the main one. When you get that thing back, that's the main one you're looking for. What is it?
Now, how much more legit can you get than that? That is 500%
Well, that's the science.
legit.
It's the science of it.
Okay.
And it's you know, and it really is, it's required. I mean, because if there's ever been an argument that made sense medically against marijuana as a medicinal, then it had to get out of an opinion and into science data.
Yes. Well, and it comes to consumer confidence, right? You as a consumer, okay, you're getting ready to go buy medicine for your mother or your daughter. Let's just put it as easy as that. You want to make sure that the medicine you're giving them is clean. It's good. It's going to work. And is there potential to have fertilizers, residual solvents, or any of that in there? Are you going to give it to them?
Sure.
Never.
Right.
Absolutely not. And so you better dang well believe, and I'll tell you this in the cannabis industry, right now in Colorado and beyond, that is the level of consciousness going on. This is a conscious plant, and the people who are using it are conscious.
Are you measuring the exact proportions? And so, in other words, if your package has X amount of this CBD and X amount of these terpenes, is that measure static over the course of all your product?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Consistency.
So you're able
is
to.
key.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, one of the things that I told you earlier, we were farmers. The next level, I mean, it's plant passion and product perfection is what makes.
So you've got process chemists working for you.
Yeah, we do. We got. I mean, our SOPs are dialed in to the point of consistent product every single time. I mean, that's what it's about. I mean, and you want to give that consistency now, but in the beginning, when you're starting small, like we're at your farm and we're starting, and you're getting used to it, and you're getting the research and development. It takes a little bit of time to get that process really understand the homogenization of your products and making sure the consistency and the flow and all of that are right. You can still do it. It's easy. This is not hard stuff to do. I just want to inspire everybody out there to go, just because you don't know the full details, keep walking through the door. This is not a hard thing to do, and it works.
Yeah.
So I mean, really, then, and back to Eugene, what you were, and I think I was interested in as well, is then with our given sun cycle with this particular plant, then are we in a good spot? Does it make sense? You know, is it economically viable? Is it something more than a pet?
Okay,
So
crop? If it goes to seed if it goes into flower right away, and I don't know this answer, so if there's any expertise that can answer this, please let me know. Then it is going to be a little bit more tricky to actually get a crop, because you're going to have to do, like we were talking about, at least auxiliary lighting to keep it in veg long enough to get roots of mass. You're gonna put it outside. Otherwise, all the crops will be indoors, and how much energy will we wasted to do that, right? However, when it gets into fiber and herd production, planting that seed and still letting it grow up, plant it real close, you're still being able to get the fiber and the herd out of the plant. It is well worth it. I mean, you can still build houses with this stuff.
So then, as an alternative product, then as not perhaps the going after the bud for the medicinal market, but going after the actual stock. And
well, not necessarily in a field grow situation unless you're vegging it out. So I think either way, vegging it out means keeping it under about 16 hours of daylight until you're ready to put it to flower or to make the flower start. And again, we had over 500,000 acres of inside grow last year, and that actually quantifies some of that is greenhouse space too, just so we know. So that's greenhouse or warehouse space. If it's warehouse space, it's 100% lit, or having to be electricity going in it.
Right,
Controlled environment.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but ecologically, that's a nightmare. And not only economically, but ecologically, you're making an awful lot of energy.
So
it's
Carbon footprint.
Yeah,
one of the things that we're doing in Colorado, and you see now, again, conscious people are in this industry, and I mean that. Like the people who are, number one, working in the industry or consuming the plant are conscious. So most of them are using and offsetting with wind credits. So meaning most of what people are doing now is from wind power, and or solar power. So Boulder, Colorado, in the Colorado area, you have a lot of potential to do that, and that's one of the things we're seeing.
Sure, that's a
Can you
great.
talk about your line a little bit? What your various products are and what they're uses for?
Yeah.
Like
So one of our baseline products that we started everything with is the raw coconut oil and hemp infusion. So we actually sell a 4-ounce jar of the raw coconut oil, and it has 500 milligrams of cannabinoid count within that 4-ounce jar.
And what's that jar go for retail?
I think that is about $59.99 if I don't remember. $60, not. And then so from that, everything else is derived. But with that coconut oil, you can actually cook with it, eat it raw, put it on your skin, any of that. It's probably the most versatile product we have. And I have gotten lots of reports that for psoriasis, it's really working well because psoriasis is inflammation. Let's talk about CBD benefits. CBD reduces inflammation and spasms. That is the main thing that you really hear from what that does. So if you have pain generally related to inflammation, so CBD reduces pain. You have any kind of spasms, obviously. That's why we've been so effective in the treatment of autism. We were 100% effective in the treatment of seizures in autism. We have and I don't know if I mentioned that, we do have a clinical trial going on in Brazil. Did I say that earlier?
You did, and that's magnificent.
Okay, so yeah, and I don't want to get off track here because I could go down so many paths. But so we've been running that clinical trial for over a year in Brazil with Dr. Fleury. We have 22 kids on the trial. We're 87% effective in the treatment of autism. I don't know if I'm supposed to be saying that really, but that is the truth of what's going down. 100% effective in the spasms that are happening, 100% effective in the mood or the behavioral disorders associated with it. So we're having big relief. And Dr. Fleury, one of our leading doctors that's behind that, has given us a call and let us know that there's even some other side effects that's been coming out of that, and that has been tumor reduction. Yeah. Imagine that, right?
Absolutely.
To say, okay.
You mean the autistic kids had tumors?
No. Other patients. They were. Good question though. That's very
right. But it actually, who was mentioning earlier before we went on air that you were making a distinction between one thing that was ate the tumor and one thing that who was talking about that? There was it the cannabinoids and the THC. There was something where one of them was stopping the cancer, or it's stopping the
like a Rick Simpson oil, or like a.
But apparently, what the conversation was about was that one part of the medicinal value was that it was stopping the.
Oh, they're nanosizing it now, and it's making tumors disappear.
Are we ready for this?
And now you were saying that the THC content or some other part of it was actually, they were studying it and it was eating the tumors away, where one was just encasing it and killing it. But
that wasn't me talking to you about that. No.
So what causes cancer? Let's get down to the basics, wipe all the BS off the table. You have an irritant that enters your body, and what happens is after that irritant hits a certain spot for so long, it turns on what they call a G9 cell, is what I believe. And you could test that, you could check it and let me know I'm wrong, and that's fine. But it's basically what happens is this cell gets turned on and it starts replicating itself. That is the beginning of a tumor or cancerous start. Cannabinoids go in and they just go into that G9 cell and they say turn it off. Boop. It turns it off and it starts protecting all the other cells around it. That is it. That is the science behind it. Go to the National Cancer Institute and read it for yourself right now. It says it on there. It says it.
I thought they took that off.
It was last time I just checked. It's on there.
Okay.
It is absolutely 100% on there.
They used to have
and then go to PubMed. Doctors. Any doctors in the house? Most doctors use PubMed. Google PubMed cannabis. Read all of the scientific information behind it. It's there. We're just not looking at it.
Sure. Well, we're fighting a different industry. It's really what it is, right? They don't, and exactly as you did start with this evening, it's nobody actually wants to cure anything. They make much more of their massive profits out of treating the symptoms.
Cures are bad for the GDP.
That's quite right. That's quite right. That's exactly right. That's it. And it becomes. So I don't know if you had a chance at all to. Sarah has an event coming up. Why don't you tell everybody about the event that's coming up in August?
We're going to have a first annual All Things Cannabis Hemp Festival.
Right.
August 18th.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a nice logo here. I don't know if you can come in
All
it. It's
things
got
cannabis.
a hand holding the leaf, but it's tied with its hemp. You know, because that's what we've
We're currently
currently.
slightly restricted.
And so we are, you know, we're trying to, it's all volunteer effort, and we're trying to get the cannabis recommending doctors on the island. And the dispensary owners are 2 people. I've invited them. And also dispensary people, you know, I invited everybody on the dispensary list. I invited our
Tell folks,
Richard.
tell them what you're talking about, so that because folks listen to us off
Well,
island.
it's just it'll be a free event. It's for, you know, all ages. It's down at Uncle Robert's. It's just, we want to talk, I want to educate people about cannabis and hemp,
Awesome.
right? And I'm inviting our law enforcement, you know, so they can maybe answer questions or try and explain, you know, their laws. I'm inviting the health department, the harm reduction.
Very good.
The harm reduction center is who's in charge of, you know, the medical patients. So that's, yeah, the harm reduction. But you know, is in charge of the dispensaries is the quality control. So they're more, you know, they're more interested in their quality control, but they're not letting the patients have any access.
It might be a kind of great idea to have the Department of Agriculture, you know, a representative from the Department of Agriculture there as well, so that we can speak to what the incredible information. Thank you so much for the because this is another approach. You know, it's I mean, often it's just such a red herring. So much of this stuff is easily jumped on from.
Can you please talk about the product real quick?
Yeah, I was just, I was actually getting ready to dial back
Going
in.
back to that, but
I saw him off track this earlier. That's what- So, are we okay?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, so coconut oil was our baseline. We talked about that, 500 milligrams. Then from that, we create our capsules. This is just sample packs. So these are, again, just coconut oil and hemp, 10 milligram, 25 milligram, and 50 milligram capsules. Capsules are generally take a little bit longer to dissolve. So when you put it in, it goes down, and then it opens up. So maybe an hour before the effect really starts to hit. So for a quicker effect, we've made a tincture here. This is not a traditional glycerin or alcohol tincture, just because of the different issues that could unfold from that. We have decided to go with an MCT coconut oil. Coconut oil is digested really well in the cellular interaction in the body. So this would actually go in and work a lot faster than our traditional capsule. So we have capsules, tincture, the raw coconut oil, and then we also have a salve. You guys mind if I open one of these?
No, absolutely.
Make sure you get some more if you need it. But this right here, now this is the one that I think is going to really be most impactful to most of the people on the planet. Here's why. How many people will eat something versus putting something on their skin? I venture anybody to put this salve on your skin right here. So if you have any exterior pain, put this salve on your skin, and within a minute to 2 minutes, you will see it. I always do see a distinct.
We've got a
We have a
person
volunteer?
I would love a volunteer. That would be great. If she hasn't used this before, you do. Use it up.
Well, I don't have.
So, and the reason I say this is how many of our elderly have arthritis? Arthritis is inflammation in the joints, reduction of inflammation. So with a combination of maybe a little bit of internal, and then using that for relief right out of the gate, you're going to really help offset that.
Right, so you get the instantaneous, and then this is starting to go into work.
Yeah, exactly. Now this again, the salve. If I had my way, I'd be hitting a lot of the, a lot of the retirement villages, retirement homes, and just really getting it out there and letting them do it. And every time that I've done that, I mean, they see relief. I mean, there's only one person, and that's been my mother, who said that she didn't get relief, and what we realized it was a bone-on-bone pain.
Oh.
So it wasn't inflammation, it was bone-on-bone.
That actually That is a
I
one.
mean-
So if you're not
That's
out,
a lovely
it might
smell
go.
though to it.
It
Orange
does smell
oil,
real good.
peppermint.
Reminds me
Yeah.
of gum or something.
So who's,
Yeah, it does. That's a really.
who's the target audience of these pills? I mean, who, what, so, and what are their ailments that they would be taking it for?
okay, so now we really look, okay, we've been in this for a little while, and you really look at the different levels of people who are, I'm going to take you deep inside of kind of what our company's been thinking about. Looking at who is using the product, and I have identified it into 3 different sectors. There's people who need healing, there's people who need wellness, and there's people who want to be vital or vitality. Well, in our marketing approach, you will see in all of our stuff right now that we're targeting vitality. Because I don't know if you need healing, wellness, or vitality. Vitality is your end goal. That's where everybody wants to be. Everybody wants to be vital. So creating that uplift of that, and that includes athletes, performance enhancers. You take reduces inflammation. Let's say you go out and you're going on a 10-mile jog. You're pounding those knees. You take some of this cannabinoids before you go out there. You're offsetting the need of repair as you're going because it's reducing inflammation as you're working out. Professional sports athletes, that's why you're seeing a big pickup in professional sports and utilizing of hemp. They're using it before they go into the field. So concussions, boom. What is a concussion? It's inflammation in the brain. So instantly you're already reducing inflammation right as the accident has happened, and your recovery times are going to be dramatically lower. Guys, the potential of this is, I mean, it just keeps going on and on and on and on. And I can tell you a couple other stories here that I think that it's relevant to where this industry is going and what the potential is. We talked earlier about the industrial hemp side of things. You got fiber, seed, herd, and roots, which we didn't really talk about, but roots has been a forgotten part of the cannabis industry that you will see a reemergence of because of the healing benefits. So when we harvest the seed of the industrial hemp, a combine goes across the top of that, it pulls the seed into this thing, it separates the seed, puts it in a container, then it takes the rest of the flour or the husk of that and just throws it on the ground. What the hell?
Yeah.
So one of the things that we started to do is take that and go, what can we do with that? Well, that's high cannabinoid flour that traditionally had just been thrown on the ground. So there's a study that happened where they put 10% of that to a normal dairy, going into dairy cattle, by the way. Dairy cattle, issues that they have, inflammation in their hooves from standing on the damn concrete too long, and their udders from being sucked too much. Okay.
Yeah.
Inflammation creates dis-ease, a lack of ease. So when your body is in dis-ease, the bodily function goes away from doing its normal production and is just in survival mode. Okay, so in the introduction of the cannabinoid into their normal feed at a rate of 10%, what they noticed and the vet said, I don't even really need to be here. The inflammation's gone. And guess what happened? The inflammation went away. So because they had inflammation before, they were producing less milk than they would normally were supposed to because their body was in repair mode. It was in dis-ease. So with that, once that dis-ease went away, their endocannabinoid system was engaged and created what? Wellness, relaxation, and then they made more milk. Not only more milk, but twice as much milk. And guess what happened?
Wow.
The cannabinoids went into the milk, and guess where the milk went? Into all of us sitting in this room. Guess what happened? The cannabinoids went into our bodies, and guess what happened? We're all smiling. Did we see the circle of life? And what I just told you in that is a byproduct industry that we as an industry never had even thought about. We were throwing that shit in the field.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're going to start collecting it. If you can change the dial on the dairy cattle industry by a percentage point, it's $1 billion industry.
Sure, absolutely.
That was a byproduct industry that I just mentioned to you guys. The industry potential right now is extraordinary.
So the application,
It's extraordinary.
its application is for adults.
Absolutely. We have pet lines that we do the same
Sure.
thing, just exactly the same stuff. You put it right into your pets. It's amazing what happens. I have a Pembroke Welsh Corgi, hip problems. Give them even a 10 milligram, even just 5 milligrams, world difference to a puppy. From a limpy to a puppy.
Yeah, wow.
So what's the cost of these various 2-packs? Or
These are usually sold in 30 count, and I believe we're at the 10 milligrams for a 30 count is about we'll call it about $50, then like $70, and then like $90 or something like that. Don't quote me on that. Go to functionalremedies.co, and you will see all our prices right there.
Functionalremedies.what?
CO. instead of .com, .co like Colorado.
Functionalremedies.co, everybody.
Yeah, that's a good one. And the product you have, how long has it been now? How long have you been?
We've been, this is our 3rd year in business, getting ready to go on our 4th.
Do you ship it? How do you measure?
We ship it all over the world.
In tons now, or are you?
We ship, more in case, I mean, but generally case.
How big is your base? Do you think you've gotten to? Do you think that your level of expansion is just?
We are expanding. Okay, we're in the middle of outfitting a brand new 15,000 square foot state of the art lipid infusion center.
Wow, wonderful!
And we're not even into construction yet, and already looking at building our next one.
Wow, wonderful. So I mean, just the product, the raw product that at the other end, at the very beginning of this factory, is going to have to be some serious acreage, more than you have right now, right?
Oh yeah, well, so we have about 150 acres in Pueblo, Colorado that we can potentially grow out to. And within my family and network within North Carolina, I have, we'll just say thousands.
Wow.
And a lot of that.
What Sarah asked about earlier, do you bring in any of the other growers that are available in the Colorado area now for a product? Do you bring their?
I don't know. We're vertically integrated. We use our own product. Only ours, because we know that.
You have control.
Well, we have control. Our genetics we're the only ones that have our genetics.
Yeah.
So we are producing our products from our genetics.
So how will you do it if you had to double your output? You know, is there a place where you can seek more product that's the raw product that's going to meet your standard?
We definitely have partners that we could utilize. However, I think we're on top of the game enough to
and that's in now North Carolina will become our supplier as well.
That is the potential that we're working with right now.
Yeah.
Source Hemp and CBDRX are 2 separate companies, however, interlinked together in ways of
Do you believe in patenting the plant genetics?
There is going to come a time where you're going to have that. I think that. So, this is a sticky question right here.
So I asked it, brother.
I mean, you really get into, okay, so let's go to tomatoes. You spend a lot of time developing this one wonderful tomato that's just the perfect right redness, the perfect juiciness and all that, and you spent years developing it. You want rights for the next 10 years to get that. It's common business in the horticulture industry and in the plant industry today. The same thing is going to happen in cannabis. It is. What you're going to do is there's going to be more certifications. Patents are kind of questionable because but it's going to happen. It is going to happen. I can see it. The genetics that we use to create that are unlike anything else that exists in the hemp industry.
Right. Well,
Tim has worked long and hard to make sure that you're doing. The genetic, what it takes to get to this point, guys. Genetic breeding is, okay, you cross a male and a female, you put a pollen on there, you get 1,000 seeds. So you plant sets of 100 plants. You watch which one has the best characteristics. You cull the rest of them out, you pull those out, you find it, you flower it out. You get another male, you cross it back on there. You do that over and over and over again, 7 generations deep before you get to a genetic like this. Years and years and years of work.
How do you safeguard your seeds from becoming genetically modified? I mean, can anyone?
So genetic modification. Let's talk about. If you're just doing cross pollen, if you're basically doing what a bee does, you're putting the pollen of one plant on the flower of the other. That's natural genetic manipulation, basically from our hands. And that's what it takes to really get this level of genetics going. We are working with a company that actually is doing DNA sequencing on our genetics. This DNA sequencing allows us to see exactly what's in this plant. As a matter of fact, there's basically a pie chart that shows you here's all the genetics that exist in the entire world. Here's yours.
Wow.
And this one right here is being so special. It's a pretty easy thing to make. We do not sell seed of this yet. We're potentially going for international certification in the next year or two, so that we can get this out to the world. But otherwise, it would have to be clone based only, and we know who's got those. Yeah. We do. That's it.
It's fascinating.
I have a question. the true status of Hawaii is not a controversy. It's supported by public record evidence. Would you be interested in creating a supplier of seed relationship with a natural law-based Hawaiian Kingdom customer?
I would be definitely open to that conversation and doing what we have to do to make it happen.
And this
Again-
is an open invitation conversation. This is not something we do under the table.
Yeah.
We want to show win-win relationships to the county guys, to the mayor, to the representatives, to all of people everywhere. But I think industry leader like yourself that has the integrity and the values to do what is pono, to do what is right, and so I think it will serve as a very positive model that people can relate to, be educated from, but I think will also serve powerfully as a unifying factor. And one of the things that all of the people in Hawaii need is we need unity. We need something that's a win-win for all concerned. And it sounds like this is the industry, this is the product, and you might be the guy in the company to help bring that aha moment for society.
Take away the company, I'm representing in the industry here. I want to help you guys move forward. I mean, we represent lots of different companies.
Yeah, no, it's
So
a family.
just
Yeah.
keep it raw.
It's
there.
already a family of companies that
That's
that
good.
are all interested in this. It's an interesting thing, I think. To summarize our show, and thank you so much for coming and giving us all this information and traveling the distance. Everybody, Sarah, thanks so much. And how did our sample go? Funny. That's and Chris was there. I know Chris had looked into some of the things that was there anything that you think that we should mention that was there were some of the fun facts, I guess, if you will, that.
One of the things I liked is they're mixing roasted hemp seeds with coffee. It makes it nutty. I'm excited about that. We can find some of that.
That's fun. That's another use. It does seem like because I remember that there was some at one point, and there was a game in the law systems, the way that everything worked, where I think it was Arizona, where the law was on the books that you could grow hemp. Or let me get this right. In order for you to grow hemp, in order for you to go to the state and petition for a license to legally grow hemp, you had to grow hemp. But it was illegal to grow hemp without the state license. So they had you locked into this. You couldn't get there. You had to grow it already to apply for the legal document that was going to allow you to grow
How
it.
it is to register your car.
Yeah, no fun.
Safety check, but you can't do that unless you have insurance and you have to get registered.
Well, it's so many examples of it in this type of government that we sign up for. But I think, but in keeping with why we do 93.5 Aloha Nation Live, why we do this, like we mentioned before, there's almost a rant of we're saying in essence what you had mentioned, and it's an interesting line that I want to point out of changing the paradigm. I say that often here about what it is the only way forward is to change this paradigm, is to change that we don't have to ask you, you work for us, that type of approach to things. And but it's an interesting thing because with that being something that you said yourself, this is very capitalistic in nature. Like the reality of your world is that you have land that somebody owns, you produce a product, it costs you money to research this, or too much to your point of now the sticky thing about, geez, do you own the plant? You did the work, you spent the money, does that qualify you? And all of those things are very capitalistic. And part of the paradigm that we believe, I think, or at least I believe, that absolutely needs to change is that. But it's an interesting, difficult position because if this was altruistic, then how do you get to do what you do? You know, because you have to sell this, right? You have to sell this. You have to assign a value.
$15,000 facility costs about what? 10 million, 15 million.
Right, exactly. A 15,000 square foot facility has. You know,
people have the freedom to research, to invest, to do the hard work that's involved. You know, this is a great example, I think, of you know the opportunity for someone else to create their own strain, their own genetics.
Easily.
Right?
Well, I mean, I say easily, just over time.
Put the effort in.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, the effort put into any project in any activity.
Well, I know. Well, it's certainly not. It's what you're separating, though. I think what you're saying is more in the innovativeness of a human, of the human nature. Someone you're you're being very.
Nothing's wrong with making money.
No, it's as long as you have as fair an opportunity to do that as anyone else.
Exactly.
And that's the system that we're not.
It's not rigged.
How about we get to a point where we change the paradigm of what profit is?
Absolutely.
And profit has nothing to do with money. It has to do with the
happiness.
The profit is okay.
I like that.
The exchange of money happens, or the exchange of energy should happen. You should get paid based on how good you are to other people, how good you are to the planet. What are you helping increase the time on the planet, or are you reducing it by destroying it?
Right.
You know, and base our profit on how kind we are.
Well-being,
We are.
yeah.
Well, the reward.
You know?
The reward system.
Right. And then, I mean, because you got corporations out there that may be very well making, I was getting ready to pick up my product, and I'm not going to do that. But like making Drano, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're making huge profits, but what are they doing for the future of our planet?
The quality.
Well, it's an interesting
quality,
thing. I think that, you know, I mean, part of what we are, part of what this, when you say natural law, what I hear, and what keeps me agreeing and interested in that is this ultimately this concept that we're going to kind of get rid of, dispose of our current thought of capitalism, of how we do things.
Well, capitalism,
You know,
if
there
it's
is-
not responsible, just like any, if a
never
life
is.
is not,
It
if a
isn't.
life is not responsible, you know, whatever ism it is, if there's no truth, if the idea of harm is not part of the way
The equation.
ism, yeah,
Well,
the equation.
it's the difference. I think a very quick example for it, in order to bring it as well to your brand new $15,000, 15,000
Square
foot
foot.
facility. If in capitalism, if you can do that same thing in another place because it's going to be cheaper for you, then it is in capitalism, then you win by doing that because your reason is to gain capital.
Right.
Whereas, if we bring this to Hawaii, and we bring this to Hawaii with the feeling of more of a community interest, of more of an altruistic reason, then we would never be driven to move the factory to a place where it's
To China or
cheaper
something.
because we're cutting our own feet off.
Yeah,
You know, we are the company. We're not moving. Capitalism eventually absorbs
Boy,
itself.
man, we're going down a rabbit hole here.
No. But the point is,
Seriously, bro.
is that thank you. But the point is that it has that this has such wonderful reasons for being used, and it's going to be a very interesting tight wire for you to walk to not just become another Dow Chemical, you know, with it.
It comes from the intent.
Yeah.
The intention that you create.
I agree.
have a question.
Please.
Regarding medical marijuana patients, what's your opinion on perhaps giving medical patients free access to products like this? Like based on their medical insurance or something like that?
I think that should be done.
You think that should be done? You would work with something like that?
I think that
So it's like
part
a
of one of the things that even as our company is an indigent program is one of the things that we've looked at putting together. We haven't gotten there yet. Again, when you're at a point where demand is exceeding the potential of supply, you know, you gotta get your wits about you. You gotta climb that mountain first. But once we get over that mountain, that is one of the things that we as a company are planning on doing. And Indigent program, just so you know, is based on need, whatever your level of need is, and it could be as a company desires to say, oh, we have a special place in our hearts for single mothers. Every
So
single
it's like a
mother is
sliding
going to
scale?
get this for free, you know, or whatever it is. And as a company, you can kind of pick and choose how you want to do it. But low income, obvious to most people, would be the first. People without insurance would be another one that I would pick. Single parents would be another one that I would pick.
Almost like a
Certain
sliding
things-
scale.
Absolutely, and really get into that because
Which is good. That's
my
more
company
what,
in North
we were
Carolina,
getting at.
everybody in the city in our county that lives in the county that I'm in will get employee prices on all of my products. Period.
Was that right?
They are part of what makes us who we are. You know what I'm saying?
They are.
And I think that
community.
all companies need to have that level
That's
of
interesting.
community.
Did you say everybody who lives in your county,
Right.
where you do your
Where this will be.
operations,
Right.
Comma Ina price?
Right.
I like that.
Dude.
That's giving back. That's
You're doing
that's
it now, or you're implementing that?
Implement. We are on our first year growing right now.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that's Comma Ina. Right? Okay.
And that's the end of the rabbit hole.
And that-
You
that's
know,
a
that's
discount, a
the
heavy
other end
discount,
of
or what's it?
Heavy.
Okay,
Yeah, that's
Right.
10% of our cost.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
Wow.
Beautiful.
And what is this organization that puts on your
So-
events? What do you have coming up?
Hemp events. Next one we got coming up right here is we just got done with the Hawaiian Hemp Conference. We're getting ready to go to Hemp on the Slope over on the western slope of Colorado with Salt Creek Hemp Farms. The next one we will have SLV, which is the San Luis Valley Hemp Symposium down in on the southern Colorado. We always have a harvest party at the end of every year, so come harvest time, we do a big harvest party. We just got done with Kaya Festival, which was with with Stephen Marley and Clan, and we're going to be doing that annually with these guys, and a couple other fun things going on with the Kaya branding that we're working with. We've got a Rise Festival coming up, and when is the Rise Festival? In a couple of weeks?
Yeah, August 2nd.
Okay. So in August, the Rise Festival, we do a hemp village at a 3-day yoga music festival, which is pretty fun. Other than that, other good fun things we got coming up is I'm working on personally Cannabis Cruise. First one is going to be in
That'll be a
October.
great time.
Leaving out of Fort Lauderdale and doing the Western Caribbean, and then there's 3 others lined up after that. And then we're doing Poland 2020 with Hemp 2020 in Poland, which is in the beginning of October.
My gosh.
And then
Question. Do you know anything about Hungary? Hungary in Europe was the first country to become industrial hemp. And do you know more about how they laid the infrastructure? Because I love what you said, Jean, about I would love to see Hawaii be the vanguard for bringing non-toxic everything, medicine, food.
And just stand on top of that. No, I mean, just
you know,
you could definitely do.
sustaining, non-toxic work for everyone. You could replace the sugarcane industry.
And do it without question. Just
Yeah.
expect it. Make it happen.
Yeah,
And I think that's what we got to get to in our mind is be unwavering in our commitment to whatever we're doing.
To change it.
I mean, we have rights as humans here. You know, this is your world.
Unless you
Live
surrender
it.
them.
Huh?
Unless you surrender them, you have them, but yeah.
So, and again, Sarah, do you want to remind folks about the event that's coming up for you?
Oh, first annual All Things Cannabis Hemp Festival, August 18th. The Keli'iho Omalu family down in Kaimu, Kalapana. They've offered to host our event. We were going to originally do it 420 this year in Pahoa at the Akibona Theater with Sal Lukine. I had talked to him last year, and then the Akibona burned down January 15th, so
Change plan.
yeah, we changed our plan, and there was a wedding down at Uncle Robert's on 420, so and then we thought 420 actually, 420 is kind of the slang for the police radio when they talk about people smoking pot. So then we thought, well, maybe we don't want to do it on 420. Maybe we'll do
In
it.
California.
It is
On
the arrest code.
statehood.
420.
Is it their arrest code? Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So we thought statehood day, since the Hawaiian Kingdom down there in Kalapana does not celebrate the, the acquisition, the occupation, that a hemp festival would be great for that day.
Wonderful stuff. So we have, thank you so much, Preston. I appreciate you coming on our show and giving us all this information. We have an audience. We never have an audience. All these folks in our little studio. That's wonderful stuff.
All right.
But thank you. It is 93.5 Aloha Nation Live. And this will be Roger, our wonderful cameraman. We'll be putting this up on YouTube for all you guys to watch. Thanks so much. Hey, good to see you guys. I was wondering where you